Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be talking about the Greatsword tier list. And I'll be starting off from the worst Greatsword up to the best, and we can have like some of the debates that I'll be doing. I'll be doing the same way as how I rank my spear in my previous videos. If you want to check that out, give it a like, and yeah, let's just get right through it. So first, I'll be having the ranked tier list. I do have BIS, which is pretty much BIS for any other class for PvP. Remember, I'm only ranking this based on PvP preferences. So if it's good for PvE, I wouldn't be really putting it at BIS because this is a PvP tier list. So yeah, out of all the great swords, I'll be doing all the tier 2 great swords or Talandry's great swords. I'm not gonna do T1's great sword except for Tevent because Tevent is kinda still viable in terms of like T2 meta. So let's just jump right through it. So first, let's talk about Broadsword of the Juggernaut. So pretty much this is just a bad great sword. Yes, it has a high attack speed and all that, but in terms of like the actual viability, you don't really want to use this because it only gives pretty much 11 strength, stun chance, and a max health. So it doesn't really give you anything like a passive or anything like that. And in terms of stat, there's so much greatsword that's just better in terms of like raw stat compared to like this greatsword. So you don't really want to use this greatsword in general, right? So based on that, I'll just instantly put it in F. There's not that much discussion around it. Pretty much no passive. It's kind of bad. That's all about it. All right, next one we'll be having the discussion about the Cyclonic Warblade. This is one of the worst greatsword 2 in terms of PvP. Yes, you'll be doing a lot of damage in terms of war game. If you're doing a war game, you're going to be seeing your numbers quite high, but you're not going to be making any impactful kills at all, like any impactful damage at all. Reason being is because you're only doing like some sort of AoE damage, and still you can't really burst anyone in terms of that AoE. And if you want to build yourself to be that tanky in the first place, to be just running around, you're not going to do that much damage anyway to like keep spinning. So I wouldn't really recommend this greatsword. The playstyle is kind of yeah, it's kind of fun in some way, but yeah, you're just going to be seeing huge numbers in terms of like wargame damage, but you're not really going to do anything impactful at all. So I wouldn't really recommend this greatsword. Yes, it has a good stat, wisdom and perception, but the species damage was just not it in terms of like PvP. You don't really want to use that, and it has a really slow attack speed, and it's just not a good greatsword to use. Even though yeah, it improves the blazing tornado effects, but I don't really like that playstyle itself because it doesn't really do any damage at all. It doesn't really give you any impact in terms of like GVG and all that. So yeah, I'll put this greatsword on like a C tier list. Reason being is it's not as best as F to the point where it's not usable, but I would say it's not the best either. It's one of the worst greatswords in this tier list for sure. So yeah, let's get to the next one. Let's talk about the Grayeye greatsword. So the Grayeye greatsword has some quite I would say one of the best passives in the game in terms of like supports wise, because it pretty much gives everyone on your team, everyone who gets the effect of Da Vinci, 16 base damage, and the Da Vinci duration is usually around like 20 seconds. So it's pretty good greatsword in general, and I would say all the stats that it gives you pretty much is all the stats that you kind of need for a greatsword support. What I mean by that is like tank and healers, which is paladins. For tanks, it pretty much gives you all you need: strength, max health, and cooldown. You kind of want all of that stat, right? And the 16 base damage, it's pretty good. You just pop it up, your DPS do a lot more damage, your healer does a lot more heals, and pretty much can be said the same with paladin class. You pretty much want to pop the Vinci before you do any healing and all that. It's gonna increase your amount of heal because heal increases based on your base damage, and it gives you strength, max health, and cooldown speed too, which cooldown speed as a healer you kind of really wanted it. So this is a pretty good greatsword to have just in general as a support role in the game. You don't really want to use it as DPS. Reason being is because just let your tank or paladin use it, and you pretty much can get the 16 base damage buff. It's not gonna stack with 2 Da Vinci's because you just can't stack 2 Da Vinci in general. And based on all that, I'll be putting this greatsword at BIS. Reason being, it's even though it's not good for DPS, but it's a really good greatsword for like support role, right? So, and it's probably, I would say, in my opinion, it's the best greatsword in the game for support greatswords. So I'll be putting on a BIS. All right, next one we'll talk about the Pakio's greatsword. So the Pakio greatsword compared to Tevent, they're pretty much the same. Same attack speed, same range, same base damage, same max damage. The only thing that makes it different of it is the other one gives wisdom, the other one gives stun chance. And the only two passive, for sure, Tevent won on that. But yeah, if you think about gaining 8 wisdom is worth the trade-off of the passive, it is just not. And these two, like Tevent is just way better in general because all the passive that it gives you, it's an AoE passive, which people are really liking it in terms of like devastating smash and all that. So it's pretty powerful weapon. I know it's not fair to compare a world boss weapon compared to a arch boss weapon, but it's kind of close to it, so I can kind of compare between the two, like which one is better or not. But yeah, Tevent is just better, so I'll be putting this Greatsword in A. Reason being is it's not that bad to the point where it goes to like B or C, but in terms of PvE, it's the best Greatsword there is for PvE. Reason being is because you want to spam that Valiant Brawl and Cruel Smite over and over again, because the cooldown decrease effect is increased by 15% and the damage is increased by 15%. So it's pretty good Greatsword for PvE, but not for PvP for sure. And more of the question that I get from people asking me is that comparing between the two, the Pakio Naru Greatsword and comparing it with the Quickblade Greatsword. So these two are pretty a hot topic right now in terms of like debate. People are saying yes, the Naru is like this, but in my opinion, I would say Quickblade is just way better in general, and it depends on how you build too. If you're building like a Ravager, maybe the Naru is better because you don't really want to build hit chance anymore as a Ravager, right? Because of how melee vision are working right now in the game, you pretty much can't hit it as a Ravager. The way you can hit it is pretty much if you run Greatsword Spear, right? So there's no point on building hit chance. That might be the case for Ravager. Then yes, go ahead and run Pakio Greatsword. It's kind of good for it. It gives you like all the stats that you need. The attack speed is kind of good. I think it also has an attack speed trait to it. Yep. So it's a pretty good Greatsword in general and overall for like Ravager. In terms of like Greatsword Spear, you don't really want to run Pakio Naru at all. You just want to go like Quickblade. Yes, it has a lower damage and all that, but Quickblade has a higher attack speed. That's the first thing that you need to know. Base attack speed is what I'm talking about. And then it gives you a 180 hit chance. If you know anything about building hit chance in this game, it's kind of rough. Anything you can get your hit chance on, that might be just one of your best picks in terms of like class role in general. So yeah, I would really recommend, if you're debating between Quickblade or the Pakio Greatsword, that is my answer pretty much. If you're playing Greatsword Spear, go Quickblade. If you go Naru, if you go Ravager, then maybe Naru is a good option for you too. But that doesn't mean if you're going Ravager, then Quickblade is just worse. That's not really what it meant at all. It's just there's just a tiny bit of improvement. But yeah, just remember that you're gonna be having lower attack speed if you're using Pakio Naru compared to Quickblade. And based on that, I'll be putting my Naru at A. And let's just review about Quickblade real quick. Earlier we just comparing it, and for Quickblade, this is one of the best Greatswords in the game. Gives you hit chance, gives you strength, gives you collision chance. Yeah, the collision chance is kind of but in the end of the day, the hit chance is good AF, and the passive is really good too. You basically have 3 kind of guillotine. You have guillotine, death blow, and Gaia crash. So once you use Gaia crash, it's just gonna shake the spot that you aim. It's gonna have like a 4 attack on that location instead of just 1. So yeah, it's a pretty good Greatsword in general in terms of like bursting a target. So if you have it, just use it. It's not really that, like if you're switching to like a Tevent or something, I would say Tevent and Quickblade has a kind of debate. If I'm running small scale, like I would for sure just drop my Tevent, not gonna lie. At this stage of the game, I'm gonna drop my Tevent. I'm gonna go all into Quickblade. There's like small scale, but large scale Tevent is still kind of better because on how Tevent works. But that's just my opinion in terms of like the debate between these Greatswords. So on tier list, I would just easily put this on like BIS. No question really asked. It just gives so much things that it makes the class way better in terms of like hitting people with that 180 hit chance. And the Gaia crash is just good to burst like some targets. It's a really high damage. It makes your Gaia really strong pretty much. So yeah, that's my opinion on this Greatsword. And now we'll talk about Tevent and what's the current state of Tevent in the game. So earlier I was talking about Quickblade over Tevent for some of my builds. Reason being is because the hit chance that you get. So pretty much what I'm running right now is 2738. If I have Quickblade, this is easily becoming like close to a 3000 build hit, and which is the ideal kind of hit spot that you want to be for a Greatsword Spear user, because once you buff and all that, you pretty much go to like 3.7k hit, and pretty much you can hit all of those melee evasion user and you kind of melt them quite quickly. So that's where the class shines, and in order to make the class shines, that's what you gotta sacrifice for. You just pretty much gotta go for Quickblade instead of Tevent if you want to burst those kind of targets in like a GVG center or kind of thing. So yeah, so I would say Tevent is still, I would say, BIS in a lot of cases. Like let's say AoE, yes, it's that pool is just way too powerful to be ignored. It's just a lot of damage in general. But I would say one of the things that kind of makes it worse too is because a lot of people are running things like a lot of sustains. There's the meta is just a lot more tankier, so it kind of falls off in the sense of that. I would say it's still BIS, but it's like the end of BIS, right? It's not really like a look up to Greatsword anymore. I wouldn't really recommend people going out of their way to get Tevent. It's just not that good of a Greatsword anymore. I would kind of maybe put it on A, but I know that Tevent pool, the passive is just too good to give up on, so it's just hovering between BIS and A. I might just put it on A, not gonna lie, because in some cases Quickblade is just, the hit chance is just too strong. Again, it depends on your build. If you're building crit, then yeah, Tevent is kind of BIS too. I can just put it like either or, just hovering around, not gonna lie. Alright, the last Greatsword of them all is Cordy Greatsword. A lot of people are asking me, hey, should I get Tevent or Cordy? So in this current meta, if you're playing Greatsword Spear, get Cordy. It's as simple as that. Gives you strength, perception, and hit chance. Pretty much makes your class, like the role of the class is to hit melee evasion user, and Cordy makes that task to be really easy. And it has a really good base damage too, 8 more than Tevent, 15 more max damage than Tevent too. So it pretty much is a good Greatsword in terms of like comparison between the two. If you have an option to get one, just get Cordy. It's just that simple. Cordy is just better. Yes, AoE Tevent is like debatably better, but not by that much. And in the end of the day, you kind of want to burst those people that kind of run melee evasion, and that poison cloud from Cordy makes it way easier. And especially with the rework too, like once people go out from that poison smoke, they're still gonna be shred from their evasion. So you pretty much can still have that debuff linger around people for quite a lot longer. And PvE wise, yes, it's the strongest PvE Greatsword. Reason being is that cloud smoke poison is gonna be having full damage if you're sitting on them for quite a while. So yeah, I would say it's the most best Greatsword in terms of like DPS wise. Makes Ravager can kill melee evasion user, and it makes Greatsword Spear do its job way easier. So yeah, I would say this is my Greatsword tier list. Give me a thought on what you guys think on it. Let me know in the comment section down below on how do you think, like, how does this tier list come across? A lot of people are kind of sleeping on how good Quickblade is, not gonna lie. But yeah, if you more loosened doesn't mean it's better. In this game, there's a lot of like builds that you kind of go towards to, a lot of like class rolls and all that. So yeah, I would say Quickblade is one of the best weapon that you can get in the game. Reason why the price is so low, it's because it's kind of easy to get. That's pretty much it. But in terms of like hit chance build, it's like the mini Cordy. If you don't have Cordy, you kind of want to go Quickblade. But if you have Cordy, you just want to go Cordy instantly. Like Cordy and Quickblade, Cordy is just way better. That's it. But in terms of like Quickblade and Tevent, Quickblade and Pakio Naru, I would say there's a debate between the two of those weapons. It's either you want to go like full crit, or like let's say full crit, then you want to go with like Pakio and Tevent. Well, if you're going like full hit, then you pretty much want to go Quickblade. And yeah, so that's about it. If you got any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. And as per usual, don't forget to like and subscribe the video. I would appreciate you guys doing that. And if you haven't so already, follow my Twitch. I'll be streaming a lot in the next few weeks, so look forward to that, and ask me any questions that you got on regarding Throne and all that. So yeah, appreciate you guys all watching. I'll see you guys on the next one, and peace.